Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pillar to Post. It's the first episode of 2026. I'm Rashaun Alleyne, joined as always by Kobia Hamblin, and we are going to preview the 120th anniversary race day. It's a 7 race card to kick off the year, and Kobia, any day at the track is a good day.
Hi guys and welcome back. And yes, Rashawn, I do agree with you. Every Saturday at the Garrison is a beautiful day. Now we're gonna start our race day with the 3-year-olds, now 3-year-olds, with the Charles W. Haynes Trophy going over 7.8 furlongs. Rashawn, we don't have a lot of horses, but we still have to pick a winner, and it seems like we've miraculously fallen on the same horse, Field of Grey. Where do your thoughts lie?
Yeah, I think this is the one that everyone is going to fall on in this spot. I'd be surprised if people go elsewhere, and we're going to touch a little bit on the others. But first off, I think we've gotten pretty secure word that Jalon Samuel is not going to be riding. So we'll wait to see who will pick up the on Field of Grey and the others as the card goes on. But this is a horse that might just be a sit and stare. You might just need to be a partner, a passive passenger aboard this one because he's the best horse in this race. As a maiden, though, he's running against Ariel and Flying Jenny and Ultrasound. And now dropping back with maidens for the first time since his debut. He's gone the mile already. All things just point to this horse easily winning in this spot.
It should be so, but this is horse racing and anything can happen. But again, I do share your sentiments in that Field of Grey should be an easy winner here. I'm not a very big fan, and again, this is just my opinion. This is not a fact. I'm not a very big fan of horses running so frequently, but it's impossible to look away from Field of Grey. I think this is one of, if not the most obvious winner of the day. As you said, Jalon will not be riding, or we've been given word he's going to be missing from the irons. I do need to see who's going to replace him because sometimes that does make the difference. But in this case, I think Field of Grey is what we
Yeah, I
call.
just think this is
I don't
too
think
much
there's
horse.
anything.
Yeah, and then just a quick mention, I think a lot of people are going to default to Electra, who has the hype. She bred really well, but I will say has been a little bit of a letdown, especially last time out, losing to Jethro and Oya's Princess in that fashion. Obviously, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but on paper, it looks overmatched. And then Undeniable might be the one you want underneath Field of Grey, even though it's a win-only race. A half brother to a lot of classic place fillies. So, but I really think it's just Field of Grey and the others. Race number 2, it's the Sir William Chandler Trophy Handicap. It goes 1,570 meters, and we have gone on the opposite ends of the bookend here. You take number 1, Temple Dancer, where I'm going to take number 7, Amaretta.
Yeah, this race is the beginning of the pick six, and we're finally back at an attractive price point in of $7,000, inclusive of a $5,752 carryover. This is where the fun begins for many. But in this race, as you said, we did go on different ends of the spectrum. You know, I chose Temple Dancer, who has been knocking around for a good couple of years now. I would have highlighted his last start against Early Riser and Visionary Sprinting, and this looked like a different Temple Dancer to me. I'm not sure what changed. I don't know what happens, obviously, behind closed doors with this one, but he was able to circle these horses and ran at the 2 grays late on, and I was quite impressed. I did say if we are able to go back to his, or in my opinion, his distance of 7.8 furlongs, he is going to take a lot to beat. And I think if anything here can be replicated, just the calm, cool ride, I think he's going to take a lot to beat.
Well, I don't have him anywhere. I just think in this spot, anybody would have been third. Obviously, he was pretty close to Early Riser and Visionary, but the 2 fillies behind him, Rock and Robin, hadn't run for 600 and something days, and Red Ribbon, another layoff as well. But kudos to you if he nails. But I'm going to take Amaretta. I think this dropping class is going to be very attractive for a horse like Amaretta. Her last win, she was able to wire, and I think with the presence of Mo Farah and Mo Farah, she's not going to get to the lead. But coming back to the 30s and lower, like if you look through her form line, she's won with the 25s and then she's run as high up as the 45. So I think this drop in class and drop in distance will do her really well. She will be a part of the pace, or at least she should be, if things go the way I envision them. And then Kimari Blackett is just riding as good as any apprentices right now. So the claim of 7 pounds I really like for her as the horse who's one of the class horses of the field. And then underneath, I'm going to take that other class horse, the Maiden Rush, who is as honest as they come in these ranks. And then Mo Farah, who honestly, when I looked at his past performances, I was very surprised to see he's only ever placed once, and that was a couple starts back in 16 starts. But I think because he will probably get a good pace setup here as he leads probably by himself, he will be tough to peg back. But I'm going to take Amaretta, a little more confident in her than the others.
I really did want to choose Rush in my second spot, but I just lost the confidence in this horse. Who I did pick up, though, is the 10-year-old gray horse, Visionary. Visionary, who is known to be able to do very well at 5.5 and 7.8, especially. He does pick up a new trainer, so let's see how he does. Good luck to the connections on this new venture. And Amaretta, as you mentioned, was able to run from 25 and lower and place all the way up to almost 45. Actually, yes,
Right.
45 and lower. So, as you mentioned, the drop in class should do her well, but I think she's been in this position a few times and she has disappointed me. So my confidence isn't the highest with her. At the same time, if she wins or if she places third or higher, should I say, I wouldn't be the most surprised person in the world.
Yeah, I just find it hard to see her any lower. 29 rated in a 30 rated, 29 rated in a 30 class race, and then the claim. I just love it for her. But we're gonna move on. Race number 3. It's the Honorable Lambert Phillips Trophy handicap going 1100 meters. And like race number 1, we have now ended back up on the same horse in number 1, Binary Code, who I guess we both think is a lock. And we have the Exacta the same.
It's very interesting that you're all of a sudden picking my horses. You're always on.
I love that you have a claim to them now, because you're talking about your horses, but Thunder Lady you have nowhere. But we don't need to get into her because we both agree now that she does not, she's not going to be the one you want in this spot. But Binary Code, at least for me, I'm going to take you back to April when the last time he ran in a 50s and lower, and he beat Social Circle, who he was going to reoppose, who we both have on our second lines. And this horse has really campaigned with some of the middle of the class in the 60s, 70s, and as high as the 80s since winning on the 26th of April in the 50s and lower. Also, on this day, he was drawn on the inside, and I see the same kind of trip. Whether Northern Lady and Thunder Lady hook up or Thunder Lady just goes, I would like to see them use Binary Code speed that they sometimes selectively choose to use and put him in the race. And when they're done, he just rails right into contention, takes this up. Again, this drop-in class is what this horse probably needs in order to be victorious. The claim,
Yes.
126 pounds, is going to make him very competitive. So the weight does not bother me at all. I just think he's the horse to beat.
I would love to add something else to what you've said, Rashaun, but I think you've taken the words right out of my mouth.
No, yeah, we have the same Exacta, so we see it the same way.
Yeah, but I would mention Thunder Lady and Wide In Picker. I think this is a bit of a too big of a bite for her, in my opinion. And on top of that, as much as she is the penny stamp at 114, I think other horses like Northern Lady and Social Circle, even Water Weekend, are going to press her early. And if I look back through her races that she's won, she has a relatively easily. The jockey jumps out, sits over, and just has to steer her. I think this time she's going to be pushed early, and I think Binary Code is going to benefit from this. And as you say, using his early speed, hopefully sitting about third, fourth, and getting that opening rail at the top of the stretch, being able to burst through is absolutely key, in my opinion, at least. On my second line, I did go with Social Circle. I find Social Circle to be a very stubborn customer. Although he's beaten, he's always still giving his best, whether it's at 5 or 7. On my third line, I did choose Emperor. Emperor, I think, will be closing hard at the end. I don't think I've ever chosen a lot of spray head horses, but I do have a keen liking to this one, despite the weight. And on my fourth line, Let It Be Me. I think this one and Emperor will be working as a team, coming from relatively close to the back of the pack. But Binary Code is my winner here. Thanks for sharing it with me.
Yeah, I think Emperor definitely warrants a look, especially coming out of the Sprint Cup. I obviously downgrade him a bit because of the weight, but he's definitely a major player in their spot. And then Simmer Down, just ahead of him, who also beat him in the Sprint Cup. I just don't like the draw and her having to rate. If I could see a scenario where she could get to the lead, she'd probably be a little bit higher on my radar in this spot. But as you mentioned, with Thunder Lady, Water Weekend, and maybe even Northern Lady, she will not see the front from this draw. So it's going to be interesting to see how this race shapes out. We have the Exacta. Let's see if we can actually nail that. And then race number 4, as the pick 6 sequence continues, is the Jim Crawford Trophy handicap. And this one is for maidens that are rated 50 and below. And I came in here pretty confident that Jalon Samuel would be able to unlock or solve the puzzle that is Charisma, who's shown some brilliance before, but he's not aboard. Don't know who's riding at this point, but you are not going to, succumb to the hype. You're going to go against Charisma.
I think I'm one of those persons who's never seen the hype behind Charisma. Although this horse did place in the Derby in her second start, I've still never fallen onto the train of how good this particular animal is. Who I did choose is Octavia Sienna. Now, why I picked this horse is similar to why I picked Temple Dancer earlier in the card. So she was in a sprint her last effort, and she closed like a train late on. This was closing onto Wonderwall, the eventual winner. And at the top of the stretch, Octavia Sienna was about fifth, maybe even sixth, but she was about 6-7 wide. She had a lot of circling to do. She did a lot of running and was still able to close like a freight train onto Wonderwall. In my opinion, if we're able to get her to relax in a longer race, in a longer trip, which it seems like she's asking for, she should be going, in my opinion, pillar to post. I don't think she's going to be one to close. Sprinting speed and staying speed are two different things. I'm very, very confident in Octavia Sienna. I'd love to see her pass the post first. On my second line, I did choose Charisma. I mean, it was pretty hard to pick a second, third, and a fourth line. And she was pretty hard to ignore considering, as we would have mentioned, her early efforts in her Derby. If she can give me half of that run, she should be able to at least run second here.
Right.
Love Bug, I also have on my third line. And to complete my first four, I did go with Champagne.
Now, I am not sure if Octavia Sienna is going to lead. She did show some speed earlier in her career, but with Espresso, who I did choose on my fourth line, and Faster Cash, who, if Kamari Blackett can catch the 112, will be very dangerous, who I have on my third line, but I question her sustainability. Octavia Sienna is going to have to close. But for me with Charisma, I think obviously you're disappointed a bit when she makes that impressive jump in her second start. And we're going to show this replay that has Espresso on the front, but also Charisma's here, and she finishes fifth. Finishes 3 lengths behind Mystique, who came back to win. And you see Charisma making this big move, and to lose only by 3 lengths to horses that have won. So obviously now she has this height where she jumped up in her second start and ran well in the Derby, comes back in the maiden race. Well, actually not in the maiden race because she lost to Sunbeam and other horses that have won, but running a disappointing 7th with Beckles. Obviously now people are going to start to disregard her a bit more, but I think this race is a pretty good race from Charisma, to be honest. Sunbeam came out of nowhere to push her out of fourth, and she was fifth. And those 4 horses are definitely favorites in this spot. So I think Charisma dropping back with maidens will be dangerous. Again, my confidence was through the roof because Jalon Samuel was on board, but no, there's no Jalon Samuel. So we'll see. But I think Charisma really, this is her chance. Octavia Sienna, I respect her. She ran really well last time out behind Wonderwall. And maybe stretching out might not be an issue. It's just the mile, so that will be good for her. Faster Cash, as I mentioned, with the weight. And Espresso, who ran in that same race behind Mystique and Charisma, she set the pace, and she brought them pretty far after what I thought was a ride that was not conducive to her winning. She set the pace and really ran with Show Me the Middle, and they were clear of the others. So I think if she's able to run in here and just control it a little bit more, she can be dangerous. But yeah, Charisma for me.
That's if the jockey gets her to settle.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that one goes.
Signing up for BTC Bets is very easy. Go to BarbadosTurfClub.org. Scroll down to Start Betting. Click Sign Up for a free account and fill out the form. Check your email for the verification code and enter it. Create a personal password and PIN, and you're all set to start betting.
So we move on to race number 5, the Darnley CC DaCosta Jr. Trophy Handicap, which has a good field of 7. I guess this would be considered the feature, where we have Soleil Levant, the newly turned 3-year-old import filly, taking on some older horses.
Yeah, Rashaun, and she's actually on my first line for this particular race. And, you know, at 107 pounds, apprentice claiming 7, I'm not sure exactly what he'll be able to take off, but anything is appreciated. I think she's hard to look away from. You know, from her first start I said this is an animal. She ran into a bit of trouble during her first start. The top of the stretch, she was circling horses and she did look like the winner running at Mystic Adventure, but she was a little bit all over the place. You know, the jockey called on the left hand whip and she, I guess, darted away from it. She almost ran into Mystic Adventure. And I think that's where she lost the race. I don't think it's because a better horse beat her. I think this horse is a monster. But as I move on from her first start, when I look at her second, I always look for progression in a horse. I always look for, you know, some kind of improvement. I think this was a massive improvement. Mystic Rain also I'm looking at. But just the sheer ability for Rashi Hughes to guide this horse and just teach this horse what her purpose is. I think if she's able to, excuse me, I think if she's able to give me this effort again, I don't think, although she's with older horses, she will be beaten. I think 107 pounds is hard to ignore.
Yeah, I think the progression she made from start 1 to 2 is definitely noticeable. And she's talented, don't get me wrong. She's very talented. And I'm going to take Donald Strubling, who the reason you're picking Soleil Levant is the only concern I have with Donald Strubling, and that is the weight. So Muhammad goes on board claiming 7 to 126 pounds is probably what she's going to go to post with. And I think, obviously, when you have horses like Soleil Levant, who's very light on foundation, but also very light in the saddle at the allotted weights of 100 pounds, and then Bahari Cove, who has beaten Donald Strubling, who probably will go to post with 113 pounds. So to distribute almost 20 pounds to these horses, it's going to be hard. But I think she, in her last start where she lost to Lovely and just got up to beat Paper Trail, she's rushed, and she's not that type of horse. So if she can get a more patient trip like she did in this race that I'm showing from last year, I think Donna Strubling, her class will just be enough to defy that weight. And again, I have Bahari Cove and Soleil Levant underneath her. I also think it won't be super firm. So Bahari Cove will be relishing that and the weight as well as Soleil Levant. And that's why your horse who's third, Life is Great, I don't have, just because of the conditions. I think these were some of the horses that would like it a little bit better.
That's fair. And to speak on Bahari Cove, I think whether it's hard, soft, water, or solid, Bahari Cove is going to run.
He's going to run. Yeah, he's going to run.
This horse is a freak. I think he's really, really good. And I think he's really poised in his position for this race. I think Ette James, I don't ever know if I'm pronouncing this name correct.
I think it's Ette James.
Okay. I think this will be our early pace setter. But as usual, I think she's going to falter probably with 2 to go. And I think flying at the line is going to be Bahari Cove. Even your Donna Strubling as well. But the weight is what chased me away. Bahari Cove, Soleil Levant, and Life is Great, especially to be flying home at the end.
No, yeah, the weight obviously is the big concern, and it could be very elementary of me to just default to a horse when she's going to be giving away this weight in this handicap. But we'll see. I think she's good enough, but horses have to run and show it. And again, Soleil Levant at that weight, probably by the end of this year, you'll be looking back at this race being like, you went against a horse like this when she was getting 100, when she was taking 100 pounds. So I see that. So we'll see. There are a lot of options you can go in a field that's so small, and it's going to be very competitive in what I think is the feature on the day. Then we move on to the high five race. It's race number 6. It's the Mum's Pride Perpetual Trophy Handicap. These names are mouthfuls. And you got a field of 10 signed on. And you can go any direction in this spot, and you are going to choose number 2, Delicious Angel. That's a direction I did not see happening.
Now, in our previous episode, I would have mentioned that Delicious Angel, in my opinion, again, these are not facts, these are all opinions, I don't think is a sprinter, and I think she will relish a longer distance. And I think 7.8 is that key distance for me. But the horse I'm going to highlight here actually is going to be Luscious. Luscious with 131 pounds, -7 from the apprentice, Mrs. Straker. Now, in her last win, Luscious, I think this horse is just all over the place. You know, when she has 112 pounds, 115 pounds, this horse is nowhere to be found. But as soon as she has 131, all of a sudden she has the most ability in the world. Now, in this race, she's facing the likes of Heroes Day, Queen Justina. Even in this race, is Papillon. And Luscious dismisses these horses. An easy, calm, and cool ride coming through the rails and opening up at the top of the stretch. I think if Straker can get this horse to settle early, take off all 7 pounds, should be romping home here. I shouldn't even say Romping Home, but she and Delicious Angel should be coming to the line together, in my opinion.
Right. I just am very surprised that with the progression this horse has made, she's not the Gay Smith horse, one of the Gay Smith horses nominated to the Tanglewood. So I took that as a negative, where I think now that you're trending towards that Saturday in January, you would start to see who are the best ones. So it made me downgrade her a little bit, which is why yes, she did beat Papillon, but I'm going to take Papillon, who I also was surprised to not see nominated to the Tanglewood, especially when her stablemates like Capro Cat and Mandarin Oriental are going. She was just right behind Capro Cat and beat Mandarin Oriental, who came out of the classic and ran poorly again. So Papillon again, very shocked to see her not going to the Tanglewood, but the connection is probably no best. But this fifth behind
They know more than us.
Nos, yeah, exactly. They 100% know more than us. But I think this fifth behind Nostradasa in a race where, as I said about it with Mandarin Oriental when I picked him last race day, the horses that were sitting close or on the rails were the horses that ran better, I guess. And I think she was finishing as good as any. If the line was just a little further down, she could have beaten Capro Cat and potentially Aries, and is a raging favorite in this spot. So I think she's going to fly a little bit under the radar. 125 pounds at the mile does not bother me. I think this horse has the world of stamina, but this is a very competitive spot, especially when you have a horse like Mystique, who I'm going to take underneath, who came off the bench. And this is a rising 4-year-old who came off the bench last time out and ran very impressively to win. Heidi Marie as well was right there on the line with Mystique, and I rated her as a horse who, if it was wet, she's upgraded then. But now she's just starting to do well, because last time out was not that moist, and she ran pretty well. And then Sunbeam, who was third. So I'm taking that trifecta exactly back the same way. Mystique, Heidi Marie, Sunbeam. Sunbeam is honest. I like that Bishop is getting on board, because I feel like sometimes the apprentice who rides her drops the ball a little bit, and she
drops her
disengages
a little too far. Gives her
a little too far. And then finally, Luscious with you. I agree. She has a little bit of talent, but I'm just a little surprised that this horse was not nominated to the Tanglewood.
So you're surprised this horse is not nominated to the Tanglewood, but isn't able to dismiss these at 7.8?
All right. Yeah, because it's just like what I'm saying is that she was better in my mind. I thought she would have been 1 point into the Tanglewood. I just thought she was a little higher rated. Her connections clearly think differently. So if they think that, I'm going to start thinking that too, because if a horse is going to the Tanglewood, I guess they should win in this spot. And I think Papillon should belongs in the Tanglewood, so I'm going to take her.
Okay, well, to add to Luscious on my second line, I do have her stablemate Sunbeam to run third. To complete my first four was Mystique, who I think is stepping up a bit in class, but just has to show me that, I can still boogie with these. And to complete my high five, I did go with I Told You So. I Told You So, who does remind me a bit of Luscious. Sometimes it takes a lot to beat, and then the next race they win is a key, or a what we call a lock, is nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
I think I told you.
She's a horse that she's a horse that I also toyed with as well, because this is a 55 rated race and she's 53. So she's one of the highest rated horses in the race, because Luscious is 56. So she's one that I definitely toyed with. She came out of the classic and she was behind Beyond. So there are a lot of horses that are just doing really well right now. But as you said, I Told You So just pops out of nowhere and wins. And then when you do key in on her, she's nowhere to be found. So at least you have a little bit of I Told You. No, exactly. So I wouldn't be surprised if the good I Told You So shows up and runs well in this spot. But I can't trust her, so I'm going to go with other horses. And then finally, race number 7. It's the Darnley C. DaCosta Senior Trophy Handicap. It's 1,800 meters. And I also want to point out that I love that there are more route races on this card than there are sprints. Usually it's like 5 of the 8 are going 1,100 meters. Now we are not getting that on this race card. We're getting only 2 going of the 7. So now we go 9 furlongs, and I guess we get another Tanglewood prep, kind of, because Valiant won the 10 furlong on Boxing Day. Now we have a 9 furlong with horses who are nominated to that spot. Dancing Prospector makes his return.
All 5 of these were nominated. I think Dancing Prospector dropped out at second stub, but the other 4 are definitely going.
Right, yeah. He did drop out. And like we started the day with Field of Grey, we're going to end the day with the same horse on top.
Now, I'm not sure why you chose Fillmore's, but I can tell you why I did. Now, why I went with Fillmore's is I would have seen in something I've learned about horse racing is don't pick who you like, but pick who stands a great chance. And Fillmore's, again, I've seen this too many times with Phil Morris being the only pace setter in the race. This horse is going to be able to go out front, walk the dog, and sprint home. I don't think this horse is going to be opposed whatsoever, especially at 110 pounds. Even if Dancing Prospector comes to give a bit of a headache, it's 131 pounds versus 110. I'm not ignoring that 110 shot.
No, 100%. And Dancing Prospector's last win at 9 furlongs on the 18th of January, 2025, he beat Phil Morris. And on that day, he took the lead from Phil Morris. So that's in the back of my mind where I'm a little nervous that Dancing Prospector fresh and returns here does that. But I'm not gonna take away what Phil Morris has done in his last couple of starts. So I'm with you. I think Phil Morris, if he gets the lead in this spot, he's going to be very dangerous to peg back at whatever lightweight.
It's straight to front. There's nowhere else to go.
Exactly. But if he doesn't get the lead, then I'm obviously a little concerned after that because Dancing Prospector could prove to be a real thorn. But if Phil Morris gets the lead, it's deja vu. We've seen it now twice in his last 3 starts where this horse can just get it front and be comfortable. So I think, like you, he is likely the likeliest winner. Where we differ is our second line, and I'm going to take Aries. You're taking Capro Cat. These two horses both come out of the classic behind Nostradasa, and Aries did beat Capro Cat, and I think Aries is just rounded into some form where he's a better horse than Capro Cat. Kenny Jones' horses right now are running lights out. He started the day, last race day, winning everything under the sun. So I just think Aries here, again, with a weight at 100, maybe 105. Who knows what Blackett is going to end up at. And again, Blackett's riding really well. I think that Aries will be a good exacta piece with Phil Morris.
Well, the main reason I chose Capro Cat for my second place was really weights. At level weights, they ran together, and yes, Aries did beat Capro Cat. But now we're taking the switch, and although there are 7-pound apprentice claims, and we're not sure exactly where they're going to fall, Capro Cat is going to post with 5 pounds less than Aries. And I'm going to take that gamble. I think if you choose one or the next, I can't be upset at you. If you have your reasons for choosing the other or opposing what I've chosen, that's perfectly fine. But I think all two of them merit their chance. But Phil Morris, 110 -3. Good luck catching him.
No, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Last leg to the pick 6 sequence. The pick 6 is going to start from race 2 and culminate in race number 7. So I'm going to start it with 2 and 7 in race number 2. That's Russian Amaretta, followed up by 1 and 8 Binary Code and Social Circle. 11 and 14, that is Charisma and Faster Cash. I am afraid of Octavia Sienna in that spot, but I'm trying to be a little frugal on this ticket because I'm going to spread late in the sequence. I'm going to single number 4, Donna's True Bling. So this middle bunch is going to be tough to escape. But if I can get through that, pretty happy with what I have underneath with number 5 and number 9 in race number 6. That's Papillon and Mystique. And then I hate to single all but one. But in the last leg, I think Dancing Prospector is a toss. And that's obviously a very bold claim. But I really don't think to come back here from 133 days to beat these 4 horses leading in that they're going into the Tanglewood, he will be much of a factor. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 4, and 5, Capro Cat, Aries, Heroes Day, and Phil Morris for a ticket that at 50 cents is $48.
So flip the script and we run into my pick 6. My pick 6 begins with an outsider, Temple Dancer. Now, I believe to win the pick 6 alone, as a lone winner, you need to have an outsider. And Temple Dancer, for me, is that outsider Saturday. To add to Temple Dancer in race 2, I do have Visionary. Running over to race 3 is where I go with Binary Code and Social Circle, my 1-2 for the day. Race 4, I go a bit deeper. These horses are a little bit difficult to handicap, but I go with Octavia Sienna, Charisma, and Love Bug. Race 5, the 3-year-olds, the babies are back. I'm with Soleil Levant and Bahari Cove. Race 6, I run into 2, 3, and 6. That's Delicious Angel, Sunbeam, and Luscious. And talking about bold moves, we're going to single the last leg of the pick 6, and we're going to single it with Phil Morris. Every yard a winning one. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Best of luck.
Thank you guys so much. Again, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X. And as always, may all your tickets be winning ones.